Hi, I'm your host for today. I'm Dan White, and you are?
Karen Warner.
Okay, who's Karen Warner?
Well, I work with BDO Canada Limited, and we're an international accounting firm and advisory firm. I work on the insolvency side, so we're helping people who are in financial difficulty, and we're also trying to help people with financial literacy to not get into trouble.
Right.
So BDO does do a lot of community service.
Right.
We have developed a financial wellness booklet, which has been extremely helpful, especially for young people that are going to be going out into the workforce or maybe starting their own business, just things to be aware of, interest rates, your Equifax, your TransUnion, how important these things can be to you. And talking about setting goals in the future, if you'd like to buy a home or whatever, but taking the right steps in the beginning of your life, hopefully, so that you never have to see me if you're lucky.
That's a funny way of putting it. Now, you mentioned the booklet, and I'd mentioned to you that the capstone students are working on a financial literacy project. Think we could have one of those booklets, or two or three of them?
Oh, sure, of course, yes,
If you can get that to us, we need to get a report back to the university on what their observations are. And you mentioned that you also work with financial literacy before people get into trouble.
Yes.
And I wasn't aware of that, so that's quite interesting. So where do you approach the market? Like, who do you approach with that?
Well, actually, we're approached quite often by community services, like people that are working with, trying to find young people jobs. I've done quite a few in speaking engagements for groups of young people that are out looking for jobs. So we'll talk about financial literacy, the importance of that, community services that are even helping, perhaps families that are really struggling. A lot of community work. So it's BDO. I mean, we're a very large firm trying to give back to the community. These speaking engagements are free, so we'd go out and do a lunch and learn, that type of thing. And then the booklets are made available, which I think are excellent. Like, you give some very, very good advice.
Yeah, I want to see that myself. Now, I was thinking, I'm on a committee at Durham College dealing with financial literacy.
Yes. And
we did a whole work around what it was all about, and we identified a circle of people that are stuck in financially difficult situations. Okay. And our conclusion was that they're stuck there because of perception. And I was thinking, I should get off the committee and you should be on the committee.
You're coming up with the best ideas now.
I really think it would be a really good idea, because the work that you've done would save them a lot of work. Now, I understand you used to work for Canada Revenue Agency.
That's correct.
What did you do there?
Well, I was actually hired as a collection officer at a fairly young age. And then I worked myself up to being like a team leader, so I was in a fairly senior position. And we were trying to collect taxes, ultimately. Right. And, you realize how many people end up in trouble with taxes. Quite often it's because they run their own small business. They're not making sure they're set up properly in the beginning, that, we have to put the GST money aside, we have to take tax off the money we're paying ourselves. And 1 year rolls into 2, and next thing you know, you're 3 years behind, and it's insurmountable. And, in quite a few of those cases, they do end up having to go to an insolvency trustee to either put a proposal together, come up with a plan to stop the interest, and make an offer to the government. And it is important that a lot of people feel that you can't get rid of your taxes no matter what, but you can go through a licensed insolvency trustee. That is all that the government will recognize, because it's also a federal act such as the Tax Act.
So if the people that come to you, how many of them had good financial habits before getting in trouble?
The ones that have a business, or just in general?
I would say in general.
Maybe 25%. With fairly good, and it might be a marriage breakdown, it might be a death of a spouse, it might be the closing of a big plant and they've lost their job. So it wasn't really their fault, it was just circumstances, life circumstances.
Makes total sense.
Right.
So when we leave off the personal side that you just described, like losing your job, et cetera, of the businesses that go bankrupt, how many of those had good financial practices?
Well,
percentage-wise?
you might still say 25%, but I would definitely say with businesses, a lot of people, they're an excellent painter, or they're excellent at being a bricklayer, or whatever it is that they do. And they've maybe worked for another company, and they're saying, I could do that, I could run my own business. But do you have the expertise for setting your company up properly? And they're so busy, they're just working, and next thing you know, they find out, well, I'm in real trouble here because I haven't been doing this properly. So we try to advise them. That's the key thing you need to do, is get your business set up properly from the get-go.
Right. Well, that's really interesting. So ideally, somebody should be sending, and I didn't really realize this way, because I just saw you as somebody that you send people who are in a disaster and you're going to be the lady who rescues them. But I didn't realize I should be sending them to you for financial education before they get in trouble.
Well, I wouldn't say that we do that type of counseling within the office.
Yeah.
This is more us going out and doing speaking engagements.
I see.
If someone does have to go through a proposal with our office or a bankruptcy, there are 2 mandatory counseling sessions regarding budgeting, living without credit, whether you do a proposal or a bankruptcy, and that's in-house, and that's one-on-one. So if you've got a reason that you needed to file with us, then
Right.
yes, you would be getting those 2 counseling sessions. Outside of that, most of this is more like a classroom type of setting or a community setting where I'm doing a speaking engagement.
How do you feel about the concept of supporting a movement governed by law that before you can start in business, you have to take a financial literacy course?
I think that would be an excellent idea.
Would you
I
support
mean,
that?
yes, I would. And I think for years they've been trying to get financial literacy into the schools. About 2 years ago, they finally did introduce it, and I think about grade 4, which is very helpful. I'm not sure how much in depth they go into, but something's better than nothing. So before, they really didn't do any of that. So unless you chose an accounting course or something of that nature, you really didn't know how to run your bank account, your credit cards, the importance if you're buying a car, how much interest is this costing. A lot of people don't have a concept of the cost of interest, only can I afford the payment. And I think it's important that they do understand that.
Yeah. That's fabulous information. Now, what I'd like you to do is, in a nutshell, why should somebody call Karen Warner of BDC?
They should call Karen Warner at BDO Canada because...
BDO. Thank you.
That's all right.
That's okay.
Because they're financially struggling. A lot of times people just don't know where to go because the individuals that come to seek our help may only be 10% of the population. So it's not like how many people are going out to buy a car, 80% of the population, how many people are in financial trouble. But a lot of times we're finding that the demographic, 60 and up, are the ones that are struggling the most right now. A lot of people don't realize that now the majority of all your RRSPs and retirement savings are protected. They'll come to see me 2 years after they've been cashing in to try and keep on top of this insurmountable debt.
Yeah.
To find out now the debt still isn't paid, all the retirement savings are gone, and they still need my help.
Yeah.
So it's important to seek help early to figure out what is available, what can I do. And it's a free consultation. And many times I might say, well, you should be able to get a mortgage, or maybe you just need to do credit counseling. Is it not best to seek advice than do nothing and then find out that I should have done this 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah. That's a powerful message. It needs to be out there. And I really thank you for being on our show. It's been great. Thank you, Karen.
You're very welcome.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Thank you, folks.